Guys, are we really sure about this marijuana as a gateway drug thing? I'm asking for a friend. Oh hey folks, Lacey Green here for D News. The gateway theory, you've probably heard of it. This is the idea that while marijuana itself is not overtly harmful, smoking weed leads people to try harder drugs, which are harmful. This is the basis for a lot of America's drug laws, so it's kind of a big deal. But here's the funny thing. In the scientific world, the gateway theory is not super popular. There's this mantra, correlation does not imply causation. It was banged into my head approximately 80 billion times in college. Just because two things occur together does not mean that one is causing the other. So just because someone who once smoked marijuana now shoots heroin doesn't mean that marijuana itself caused that, or maybe it did. More data needed. So let's look at the facts. Marijuana users are more likely to use harder drugs compared to non-marijuana users. And almost all people who use hard drugs use marijuana first. But in the US, 107 million people have used marijuana, whereas only 37 million have done cocaine and only 4 million have done heroin. Researchers have found no conclusive evidence that marijuana is the real springboard for later drug abuse. The American Journal of Psychiatry asserts that this correlation between marijuana and hard drugs is more likely because of individual tendencies and environmental circumstances of people who smoke weed. So people who are drawn to marijuana in the first place will include people who are drawn to mind-altering substances. From the get-go, this group was more likely to try other drugs. Building on that, the Institute of Medicine found that marijuana's illegality makes the correlation stronger as well. See, in order to get access to hard drugs, the dealer has to really trust you. They're not trying to get arrested, you know? So their relationship is first established with marijuana, and because people have to go underground, so to speak, to get weed, they're more likely to come into contact with people that supply and use those harder drugs. Amsterdam's legalization of marijuana shows this in practice. When it became legal, usage of harder drugs didn't rise, it actually fell. Another interesting finding that keeps on being found is that the real gateway drug is unassuming, totally legal, and heavily consumed alcohol. The Journal of School Health and the Institute of Medicine found that marijuana is simply the third in a progression of drug use by those who are already predisposed. Compared to tobacco and marijuana, high school students who drink alcohol have a significantly greater likelihood of using other drugs. So, what does it all mean? Most of these scientists are encouraging policymakers to work on preventing these behavioral and environmental risk factors for drug abuse rather than demonizing and pointing the finger at one particular drug. Like most things in life, it's not a black or white issue. In this case, it's actually kind of green. Thanks for joining me for D News, folks. Let me know your thoughts and anecdotes on the gateway theory down below, and we'll be back soon with more science updates.